Hi, I'm Greg Ulan with Reynolds & Reynolds, and this is Connected. E-contracting is coming at dealers from all different angles. You have consumers who just want a fast and easy deal process, and then you have lenders who need e-contracting to be more efficient and to have less risk. And then you have the standard business operating principle of just freeing up cash flow. So today we're sitting down with Maxine Olson from Volkswagen Credit to discuss e-contracting, kind of where we've been, where we're at today, and what's next. Let's get connected. Maxine Olson with Volkswagen Credit, thanks so much for sitting down and talking.
Absolutely.
All
Glad to be here.
Yeah, and Maxine, we haven't met before right now. So if you don't mind, share a little bit of your background in automotive finance, and kind of where you are today and how you got there.
Sure, absolutely. So I've been with VCI, which is Volkswagen Credit, Audi Financial Services, and Ducati Financial Services for the past 22 plus years. And I am working in the space of e-contracting for the last about 10 to 12 years. And basically that is the responsibility of a couple different components. One component is the lender integrations with our DSP partners, which is of course with Reynolds.
Yep.
And also it is the strategy we have in our company of what we want e-contracting to look like. And then it goes down to the dealer level of installing the dealers, consulting and training on the process, and then the field training, and with our partners, our brand partners like Audi and Volkswagen.
It's big stuff. That's for sure. It is. All right. So 22 years. Why so long? What's kept you hanging around?
Two things.
Okay.
My loyalty to the company and my passion for the dealers. I love our dealers. We have a great body of dealers out there, and they are really passionate about what they do, and I love our brand. So those are the two things that have kept me around. Good.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like once you're in, it's just too much fun to leave.
It is. I enjoy my job. I've always loved my job, so that's a big part of it as well, right? You have to love what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Maxine, I get to talk to dealers a lot about the contracting process from their perspective. I don't get the opportunity a lot to talk to lenders about the contracting process from your perspective. So I want to get into that with this conversation. So to start, can we talk a little bit about what the traditional contracting process looks like? So from a dealer, right? They sign paper, they stuff it in a FedEx envelope, and they ship it off. And then at that point, it comes to your team, Volkswagen Credit. What happens once it gets there?
Well, from that perspective, from the paper perspective, it is sorting through the mail, pulling out all different kinds of paperwork, which can be several different pages, several different folders, and then manually entering all that data, looking at it, auditing it, and then finding out that there's something wrong with the contract, and now mailing it back to the dealer and saying, look, there's a problem. We have to have it fixed. The dealer takes time, gets the customer back into the office. Then it gets mailed back to us, which of course is weeks later.
Yeah.
And then it gets finally funded, and it's worked sometimes several different times before it's funded. So obviously it's not sustainable.
Right. And it's people heavy, right? You have somebody physically reviewing the paper. How many deals can a person do in a day? It seems like it's got to be very resource intensive.
When it's paper,
yeah.
Yes, there's not that many deals that you can do in a day. And the problem is when you have to redo that same deal over and over, that's where it becomes difficult. So it's not even so much how many can you do in a day, but how many times do you have to do the same deal in a day?
Yeah, it's tough. So fast forward to today's world, and we're really pushing into e-contracting, right? And
Yes.
not just digital signing, not getting something signed and then scanning it in and reviewing it in an electronic format, but rather
Correct.
E-contracting. So maybe to start from Volkswagen Credits and your perspective, can you define e-contracting? When you say e-contracting, what do you mean?
Sure. That is a really good question because it does have different meanings in the industry. So e-contracting for us is going through what we call the vault. So the vault system. So electronically signing all your document, and with VCI, you can sign all of the paperwork through the electronic signatures, and then it goes into and sent over to us electronically into the vault, and the contract is secured. So that to us is where it's very important. We do understand that there are certain documents for the DMV that need to be printed out for the customer, but for us, None of that has to be. It can all be electronically signed and electronically sent over to us. And if you can think about that versus paper, you can already see where the efficiencies are.
Yeah. And for a dealer, obviously, a lot of it lies in contracts in transit, right? Being able to get a funded deal and just get cash in bank quicker. When you're doing a decent amount of deals, if you have any amount of volume and if you have multiple stores, that number gets really big really fast.
Really big.
Yeah. So being able to speed that up and
Correct.
reduce that amount of money that's just kind of sitting out there because it hasn't been funded yet is a big deal, and it can really help with cash flow. What about for you guys from the lender's perspective? What are the benefits of moving to e-contracting? Where do you see the benefits?
Wow, there are so many benefits on our end as well. If you think about what I talked about for the paper process versus electronic process, so now it comes into us and it is all on a screen and it is all actually input already. So we don't have that mail process of sorting. We do not have the scanning of the documents. We do not have the manual entry. So it actually takes us about a third of the time to process one document or one funding package as it would for paper. It's already in there, and most of the time the fund it right the first time is a lot higher, up to 23% higher. So now we've cut and 23% of our reworks
Right.
out. So the other part that's extremely important, especially since the pandemic, is our funders can fund from anywhere. They do not have to physically be in the office because it comes directly to their computer and they can fund from home. So it is extremely important to us to keep our productivity as we go forward and move forward to be very process driven. We have to have a high productivity and not have to hire other people, especially when you have the seasons where sometimes it can be very manual intensive during your hot selling season. And that's when CIT gets bad, is we can't fund those deals. So it does make a huge difference for us.
Yeah. So are you able to then, maybe take some of those resources in people, right, and expand them and either do more deals or help them do other things to make an impact for your company or for the dealers? You had mentioned your organization is a very wide-ranging organization and field training and all kinds of things that you're doing in the dealer community too. What has that meant to be able to be more productive when it comes to funding the actual deal and employing those resources to accomplish other things?
Sure, which is a really good question because we're not looking to make our funding staff smaller.
Right.
What we're doing is we're trying to be more efficient so we can help the dealers in those areas where they need help. So the problem deals where they really do need our assistance and we can help them, we are available for them now versus, hey, you know what, we have 100 deals that we have to get through and we don't have time for our dealers. So it's really about servicing our dealers and making sure that when we process their paperwork, it's efficient, it's done right, and we can help.
That's good. So if you don't mind, let's go down that path a little
Sure.
bit. How are you at Volkswagen Credit really trying to help dealers along and pull them into this e-contracting world? What types of tools and programs, what are you guys doing? I mean, is there a lot of training you're doing? What are the things that are involved in that?
Yeah, so we are making sure that our dealers get funded faster. So obviously the funding time for e-contracting is a lot less and the CIT is a lot better. That in itself for our dealers is a huge benefit. We do make sure that we fund those deals first, and if anything is going to be put into the back burner, it's going to be those paper deals. So it's helps our dealers to keep their cash flow going. And also it keeps our finance managers from having to do a lot of rework. So now their time is open for selling. They can spend more time selling versus trying to contact a customer, upset a customer, bring them back in for signing and things like that. So it's really important for our dealers, and there's a lot of benefits for them as well. And we also do a lot of consulting for our dealers in their process. So we help them understand why it's important, how they can use it, and how it benefits them.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit and
Sure.
talk about kind of where things are headed and what's possible, right? We're getting into this world where e-contracting is really a reality, and it's opening up even greater possibilities. So where do you see things going? Where are you guys headed specifically at Volkswagen Credit? What are you excited about?
I am super excited about this whole new world of selling. We all know that, especially in the finance office, that is not a pleasant experience. And we need to, in this industry, change the way that we do business and meet the customers where they are. So where we are going is with that whole omni-channel selling point. So a customer can purchase a car in their home and in the coffee shop and in the dealer, wherever they want, whatever part that they want, and they can do it at their own time. What we are finding is when the customer is more relaxed and has the opportunity to purchase a vehicle anywhere, they actually buy more products, they're happier, and the time they feel, whether it's more or less from their perspective, is much better than being in a finance office where they're beaten down, in their words, beaten down, and feel like, okay, I just want to get out of here, so I'm not going to listen to your sales pitch.
Yeah, and we've been doing a lot of studies and surveys of consumers lately, and what we've learned, especially in F&I specifically, is they're not opposed to buying things.
No.
They just want to be educated, right?
Right.
They want to understand, because for a vast majority of consumers, they just don't know what products are available, or if they know what's available, they don't know what they are.
Correct.
And they don't want to be taken advantage of, so the easy answer is no. So if you can, as a dealer, help guide that process too, allow them to do it from anywhere, but help guide that process where they feel safe and they feel educated, like you're adding value, they do. We've seen that too. They do have a tendency to buy more than just sitting there having that wall up and being defensive.
Not only do they buy more products, but also the value of the car is more for them. They're willing to pay for the car. They don't want the dealers to tell them how much to pay. They want to make the choice themselves. And if they are online and they have the ability to look at it themselves, they will make those purchases. And they do feel better about it. We have some great products out there, and they're benefiting our customers. So it doesn't mean that, oh, I have to buy a product and now I'm stuck with this extra large contract. It's not that way, and customers know that. They just want to make those choices. And that's what this world is coming to for the online selling, the omni-channel selling. Hey, look, it doesn't mean that the dealers are not involved. It doesn't mean that the dealers cannot have a big, huge part in it. It just means that the way they do business needs to change to meet the customers where they're at today.
Yeah, you're right. So in that vein, talk to me a little bit about remote e-contracting. So you defined e-contracting earlier, and we're talking about selling remotely right now. So blend those two together. What does a remote e-contracting process look like? And because there is a lot out there, e-signing and e-contracting, and
Yes.
you're signing digitally, but then you're printing the paper out and mailing it in.
Yes.
So where are you at Volkswagen Credit? What's possible today, and then what's kind of the end goal?
That is a great question, because I remember when the pandemic first started, nobody had remote signing. And it was in March of 2020 when everything had shut down and our dealers were in a position where they said, hey, look, we still need to sell cars. And so we took a leap of faith at VCI and we said, we are going to allow remote signing. We were the first in the industry to allow it. So the very beginning of April, we started allowing remote signing. So what that means is the dealer can email the customer all the funding documents, everything. For us, they can sign them electronically at home. It still goes through the vault. It goes right back to the dealer's DMS, which is very important. Really important that we have it all in the flow of a system of what the dealers use. And then from there, they can send it electronically over to us. So nothing needs to be printed. Nothing needs to be sent to the customer, mailed to the customer, mailed back, mailed to us. It can all go electronically. Very, very important during this time that customers were not allowed to enter the dealerships. And it really changed the future. So it worked for us. We took a leap of faith, and we're glad we did because our dealers have benefited and our customers have benefited from it.
Good. Good. Yeah, and it just opens up so many more doors.
It does.
Going forward. It really does.
It does. And why print paperwork anymore? Why? Why go out and mail something to a customer? Why do you have to do that? It's not necessary anymore. So we just have to get our minds around that. And the other thing I want to say is too, we have a very high percentage of all of our deals coming in through e-contracting.
That's great.
So we really only have a very small percentage left. That has to change. And we expect by next year, 2023, we're going to be 100%.
Good. So what are you telling dealers who are hesitant? How do you get them to kind of take that plunge? In a lot of ways, they're taking a leap of faith too. I mean, once you're there and on the other side, you go, why were we doing it that way?
Yes.
But everybody's got to take the leap of faith. So how do you approach dealers who aren't quite there? They're not quite comfortable. They're a little hesitant to move into this e-contracting world.
That's a great question, because that last 30% that we have is really the hardest, because those are going to be your smaller dealers or your dealers that are not in a group. And so it's harder for them to make those changes. It's more of a big deal for them to make those changes. So that's where we show them, especially the CIT, how they can get their money faster. But we also have to consult them. We have to work with them. We have to be their partners. So we have to go into the dealerships and we have to show them how it'll work for them, where the benefits are for the dealer, and how they can help their customers. That's where we see the biggest change, and then we can shift them over. Again, those are going to be your smaller dealerships that are going to have the harder time because cash flow is hard.
Yeah.
But when you can offset that by their contracts in transit being way down, and we can show them that,
right,
there is a huge benefit, and we just have to give them options.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing.
That's great. Good stuff. Well, Maxine, anything we haven't talked about that you wanted to dig into any further at all, or?
I would just say our strategy at VCI is to have e-contracting in the DMS. That's what is very important to us. What we chose to do as an OEM is to help our dealers stay inside their DMS. So that direct connection between the dealers and VCI is what's very important. We don't need them or want them to have to go to another website, to have to go somewhere else, to have one place for their documents, another place for their deals. Everything should flow through the DMS to make it easier on our dealers. That's important to us, and that's our strategy.
No, good stuff. Well, Maxine Olson with Volkswagen Credit, thank you so much for chatting. It was a really good conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for joining the conversation today. Before we hop off, don't forget you can watch or listen to episodes of Connected on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify podcasts. And make sure to hit subscribe so you're notified every other Wednesday when new episodes are released. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.